Okay. Hello, welcome back to the Software Matrix here on Print Island. I have a very special guest with me today, Karl, who is the founder of CoCoCo. Karl, hopefully I've said that correctly. Before we jump into a little bit about who you are and what you do, just give us an overview on what CoCoCo is and what it does.
Okay, well, I can give you a little elevator pitch. CoCoCo addresses a need in the industry to fill the gaps, data gaps specifically. Those gaps in between an automated function and another automated function, or a cloud solution, or a software solution, or a machine solution, often have that integration gap. So what we've developed is a data layer, which acts as a print layer, a print platform, essentially, connecting all of those individual machines, software, and solutions so that they all talk the same language, thus enabling automation, thus enabling AI, or the adoption of AI, thus enabling smooth job routing, thus enabling, and the list goes on. Once you're in control of your data, you have the power, and that's essentially what CoCoCo delivers.
Excellent. So you're an enabler, in essence?
We are, yeah. So Industry 4 never quite completed because there wasn't that truly agnostic data layer. And of course, we have vendor solutions, but those vendor solutions are stacked. And what we proposed was laying that data layer, instead of a stack, down on its side, making it totally universal and agnostic. Any vendor, any machine, any language as such. So we touch all of the main languages in the print industry, everything from JDF to JMF, and we can work with anything from APIs, which is of course what we prefer, all the way through to buckets somewhere for data to be deposited or retrieved. So yeah, our concept is wholly away from any vendor solution per se. It's literally designed for the printer who wishes to have a smoother flow of data right through the organization, no matter what machinery or software he uses.
Excellent. There we are. Karl, just going to pause you there for 1 second. Can you just look at your screen and tell me how good the picture quality is for you on your screen of view? Is it fairly clear? Clear, yeah? Okay, cool. Brilliant stuff. Okay, Karl, so to offer that plethora of connectivity and data management, jumping in a bit of a personal question here, I'm guessing you must need quite an extensive background of experience to be able to create a product like this for CoCo.
Oh yeah, we have. I mean, cumulatively, we have probably half a century of industry in the print industry amongst the core founders. But we also have an extensive team now, and we're building that team every day that goes by, who are generally from the print industry and have experienced those joys of gaps in production and have worked with us in the past. So we've got quite an experience in this field and have come to join us as a part of our team. So yeah, there's a lot of industry experience here. And I think as we build the team, that'll get more and more extensive.
Did you have like an entrepreneurial experience or background before setting this up? It's a fairly new venture, isn't it?
It is. It's a year old.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a rich history in the industry, and yes, a few of us do have a slightly entrepreneurial background. But we formed the company not necessarily because of that drive to own and to distribute a good idea, but actually because we realized the benefit of a solution like this is so far-reaching. It affects every part of the print industry, from vendors to printers themselves, to the suppliers to the industry, to software vendors, and to individual machine vendors. The whole picture for us was, and I'm sure most printers would agree, bitty, piecemeal.
Mm-hmm.
And our vision was really to work on a solution which took all of our industry experience of where those gaps are, what types of problems printers face, and to look for a really modern, platform-based solution to that, or to those problems. And we never really found one ourselves, so we just created one. We've taken years of extensive knowledge in terms of process workflow, but also knowledge in terms of, practical shop floor experience. How do solutions affect the daily lives of the print organization? Not just the organization itself, but individual elements within that organization. And I have to say, much of our market research and much of our experience showed that when it was too difficult to create a point-to-point connection, it was too expensive, it was too time-consuming and complex, people just didn't bother. And ultimately, we ended up with a partly automated industry that ultimately reverts to spreadsheets on more than one occasion during the life cycle of a job. And that ultimately is what we wanted to resolve. Those gaps are costing money, they're costing time. And you know what they're doing? They're holding the industry back. We've always done it with spreadsheets, so we will always continue to do it with spreadsheets, is the sort of mentality that sometimes we face. But that's understandable, right? That's understandable. If I were a printer right now and I didn't have a solution to that grand problem of connectivity and overall visibility and job routing and job flowing, and so, if there wasn't a solution out there, I couldn't possibly have implemented one. So it's nobody's fault, other than, I suppose, we're moving now into better processing with better servers, with better bandwidth, with, I suppose, the technology that enables platformization now where it's never been able before. So I think that's what we really want to do. We want to start pushing those boundaries to complete for the Industry 4.
And was that a bit of frustration, Karl? You mentioned spreadsheets. I remember 10 years ago talking to quite a few of the MIS partners, and they were explaining how, they go into PSPs and see, them operating their workflow of a spreadsheet. Was that quite a frustration for you, and kind of frustration in a negative sense, but a motivator in the other sense, where you saw that and thought, actually, we can connect all the dots together here?
Actually, we knew that was the case anyway. The market research was really to confirm our experience and our industry knowledge. And we had feedback from printers that, the apps that they use automate them to a certain extent. Nobody that we've talked to has actually completed Industry 4 within their print business.
Okay.
So that was the challenge that we took. Industry 4 can only really be completed once you have true connectivity across all of your machines, software, and services. And when you have those things lined up, then Industry 4 can take shape, because data is no longer a limitation. As one of my dear colleagues said recently, data is the last moat to Industry 4.
Wow.
We have a number of siloed solutions in the industry, in fact, very many of them, which will stack through a particular vendor, which layers the problem on the industry, really. How does an average printer cope with a hybrid scenario, with multiple machines from different vendors, with multiple software from different vendors? And the answer to that, realistically, is an agnostic data layer. We strategized about this, about how data would flow and so on and so on. And we've come up with solutions that I think address not only security concerns, but also bandwidth concerns with the internet and so on and so on. We've got a really, really robust solution, and we'll go through this shortly. But the reason for that solution's existence is purely to address a problem that every single printer, or should we say 99% of printers, I'm sure there will be exceptions to this, but anybody who wants to automate, 99% of those people have not truly automated completely end to end. And it's those gaps that we feel are costing money and time. So the raison d'etre is to remove the complexity of integration so that data can flow more smoothly, which then becomes the enabler to automation, to AI, to workflow, and simplifies the whole data piece for everybody, including, of course, we talk about the end user and how valuable that is to his business. But we include vendors in this. Vendors always have a requirement for data, and the recent EU Data Act makes it more and more important for that data to be available to end users.
Okay, can I just jump in real quickly, because you
Sure.
seem really, really, really clued up, and whenever I've spoken to you, it's a bit of a compliment here, and he hasn't paid me to say that, by the way. But you're really clued up on the whole data processing function, with something that when you were explaining the agnostic approach to me offline, on why CoCoCo is so important to the industry, because it's agnostic and it's data flowing through. You then said something there about the European Data Commission, or you were about to touch on it.
Yes.
I have a question for you that I was going to ask you later on, and I'm going to jump straight in now. Your thoughts on AI in the print industry, because I was on a webinar recently with Xerox, and they had a consultant on there, and he was sharing the dangers and the breaches of GDPR, which the floodgates are going to open soon because of the way AI and data is being used. And it got me thinking, like, are we as an industry ready for the negative side of AI right now? That's a bit of a loaded question for you there, Karl.
That's a very loaded question, and it's a massive subject. There is a lot of speculation in the industry now that the AI bubble is going to burst. I would agree to a certain extent. However, AI is not dead by any sense of the imagination. We live in a world where a new technology has hit the market, and everybody has envisaged this as the answer to the greater automation piece, or maybe the greater customer contact piece, or maybe the great. And what has happened, I think, is that AI has settled itself, not just in the print industry, but in industry in general, as a customer-facing tool where data is easily readily available. It's easy to manipulate, and it's easy to make decisions on, because all of the data is available. Customer data, customer purchasing habits, and so on. And that formulates a really good model for data to work on. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a proliferation now of customer-facing AI tools. And I think that maybe will reach its maximum at some point. And I think, there will be a little reset on that on the customer-facing side of this. GDPR is an important aspect of that, because there are rules and regulations about how you can contact and how you can use data. Mm-hmm. So that's really, really important. The frameworks that I always advise people work on is just stick to the law. Whatever your local law is, just stick to it. Whether you're using AI or you're using a standard CRM or you're using a combination of both, the law still exists, right? And the law still applies to you.
Great advice. And then you said it.
Well, it's true, isn't it? You stick within the law, you're not going to you tell no lies, all that. So I think the greater piece of AI is still to happen. I think the bubble will maybe contract slightly on the customer-facing side, and then people will realize that AI is a very powerful tool, as long as, and this will maybe cut into what we're going to say later, as long as the data is available to you and in a format that you can recognize and interrogate. Standardized data modeling is the key. And at that point, and this is maybe where we can help enable AI, is if you have half of your data available, then you're looking like this at the market. If you have a data layer that connects every part of your organization and standardizes that data, then you essentially build your own language model, your own data set for AI to interrogate properly. And at this point, it's only a few steps away. As John said, the last moat to digitalization is data. Mm-hmm. But it's not just data, it's access to data. Mm-hmm. The normalization of data. Mm-hmm. Because once you've got those two things, then AI can actually look at your data and make sense of it.
Mm. So the data's already there, right? The data's already there. It's like you say, it's the free flow of it into your system, for example, is where,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, data is everywhere in our businesses. The problem is we've not got access to it, or we've got access to it piecemeal.
Yeah.
The data piece in the industry is siloed. Your CRM picks up bits from here and that, but your CRM's not picking up live data from your machines, telling how production's going, and so on. And this is where I say customer facing and production are two different pieces. It seems to me that AI has taken great leaps where data is available, but very few leaps where data isn't.
Yeah.
Particular manufacturers have said, look, we've got AI in our system and we've got a stat system, and when you're using our machines and our software, then you've got visibility, etc., etc. But that's per manufacturer. And in a hybrid world that we live in, an agnostic solution, which connects all data sets and all data models together, is absolutely needed. And once you've done that, you enable visibility, you enable automation. And it becomes easier too, right? Because you're not trying to take data from here and translate it into data from there. We already do that by the normalization of the data. And imagine that data isn't available to just one part of your organization or two. It's available to any connected part of your organization. A microcosm of this would be your home, Google Home, right? You can see your light bulbs are on, you can see they're off, you've got live data flowing backwards and forwards. You're able to control things much easier. You're able to set routines and automations. Well, imagine that in the print industry. The only reason that automation works is because you've already connected your light bulbs, and you've already connected, and you've already connected. And it has a platform, and the platform makes decisions based on automations that you give it. Well, the next stage to that is to set AI in there. And the same applies to the print industry. Once you've got all your machines, software, services connected, then AI becomes a really powerful tool, both as an analytical tool and as an automation tool to a certain extent.
So, Karl, you mentioned, connectivity, being agnostic, free flow of data. That brings me nicely onto my question on CoCoCo's vision. Is that really, in a broad sense, what you believe, what you want to see going forward for the industry in terms of the software space?
We believe genuinely that there are best of breed products out there that will satisfy most people. But access to those and the integration of those into existing environments is always problematic. So you want to buy a new machine, there's a part of that sale that is the complex bit, and it's usually integration and how does that fit into the rest of my business.
Sure.
And very much the same with software, right? So our vision is to make those applications available and easy to plug and play. We believe that is the future of the industry. We don't believe that people should have to worry about the complexity of integration when they buy a piece of software or when they buy a machine. They should, by rights, do what we all do when we buy a set of headphones, right? We go to settings, we enable the Bluetooth, find it and connect, bang, done. That's our vision for this industry. And whilst we don't quite have plug and play yet, there's still, obviously, certain parts of our software are still in beta, but we're getting there. We have established connections with X and Y, and some of the big vendors already have the APIs open to us. I think, as time progresses, the platform will get richer and richer and richer. And I believe genuinely that all of that comes down to that very basic thing of enabling choice. We don't provide those endpoint services. So we don't provide web to print. We don't provide color management or imposing or machine or Postgres. Like, we are none of those things. We are the glue that combines those things.
No,
and makes
great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, because the way I see the modern PSP working or needing to work is they'll have one press to do one job, one press to do another job. They'll need maybe an MIS or in positioning that won't necessarily be configurable or part of the same ecosystem. There'll be a web to print system. And what you're doing is saying, well, you want that, and that, and we're just going to bring it all together and we're going to make it work around your business rather than an ecosystem that you're being told you should adopt. And that's one.
Correct. So the platform itself enables people to actually create their own data visibility. The data is theirs. They can actually export that, or even better, within the platform, they can create a visualization tool. They can use data that we supply to build their own apps or their own process or their own. If it's data related, then we enable not just choice of pre-existing applications on the market and pre-existing machines on the market, but we enable the client it's their data. They can do with that as they wish. They can visualize data. They can set routines for data. They can push and pull data. And that second part is really important, pushing data, right? We all understand how a job gets to a machine and beyond. And that beyond piece is interesting because there's the Postpress, which is never truly being connected or automated. And we're working on that right now. But the salient word here in the push and pull, the bit that's never been done before, is the pull.
Okay.
We're pushing data through. We're making sure that that's nice and easy that way. But data flows both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And in traditional integrations, it's never really flowed like an API can allow it to flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we're saying is, look, it's fine setting your data this way through your process. But our view is, look, there's plenty of data here in your machines and Postpress and so on that actually give you feedback that's valuable to processes before that. So what happens if a machine's down? Is the machine running at full capacity? Is there a blocker somewhere? Is Postpress struggling? Do we need to slow the machines down because Postpress is running slow? This is live data that you can make informed live management decisions on now.
Mm.
So ultimately, pushing and pulling are as important in our world as each other.
Okay.
Because, one of the criticisms of the industry that we hear quite a lot is that once the job's off, it's gone. There is no visibility. The data isn't flowing back so that we can tell. We get a completed notice and that's it.
I challenge that mindset as well, because having worked with MIS systems and seen the two-way multi-directional, it can be done with the right mindset and the right investment in software. And I know you're all about that, which is phenomenal. So what you're saying really is data is the currency, and putting the currency into the business is going to be key for the future.
Yep. I would add slightly further to that. Data, pulling it into your business and normalizing it is the key to everything else, be that automation, be that AI, be that workflow, and be that actually connecting unconnected systems. A lot of people are working on legacy machinery, which is really not legacy, right? It's still got years of capacity and life in it yet. And the danger is, as we step into Industry 4 and beyond that into Industry 5, that old machinery becomes defunct.
Yeah.
But our view is that it shouldn't be. Get yourself the right monitoring solution on the machine, feed that back to us, and all of a sudden you've got a valuable asset that's actually a part of your ecosystem, of your wider technical ecosystem, rather than just being a standalone machine that you take a plate to.
I didn't think of it like that. I thought, so it's interesting because I was thinking about the way the system enables the PSP to use multiple items of hardware, multiple software. But actually what you're also saying as well is, don't rush out and replace the hardware if you can't necessarily afford to. There might be a way that you can utilize it better for better data flow, which is a point I've not thought about before, actually.
So what we cared about was the average printer. And the average printer has some machinery that's connected, has moved forward. But, 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. And there's plenty of machinery still out there that we feel could easily be connected, right? It takes and I suppose we're looking at the sort of physical element of that now. How do we connect an unconnected machine? But there are solutions out there to do that, right? Already, there are plenty of monitoring solutions and so on that have little sensors and so on, and that's valuable to us, right? So we'll be working with third parties and best of breed products to actually enable the better utilization of existing and unconnected machinery. We don't believe that Industry 4 isn't necessarily just about software. It's about just looking at the common sense picture. The common sense for us is that nobody wants to throw their old machinery away just to advance into the future. Our view would be that we take that machinery with us.
Okay. Really, really refreshing, Karl. I think you've just blown me away with that whole point about, the legacy and the longevity of equipment through just better data flow and better software management. I really want to jump on to the actual products itself. I just want to ask a little question on what you were saying here. So do I, reading between the lines, do work with pretty much every platform and system, or you'll try to, where the opportunity lends itself?
We work with all of the major manufacturers, anything that's got an API, but we can also work with older systems. What we didn't want to do was negate the past just to create the future. So we're very real world. We work with all of the main languages in the print industry, but we can also work with FTPs and buckets of data. We remain agnostic in terms of the languages that we support. There is nothing off limits. Data is data. It just needs translating and an API creating for it. And we do all of that for the major vendors. We do that for the printers. And yes, clearly there's a cost associated with that. We work on a very simple pricing model of £1,000 a month for the platform itself, inclusive the connectivity that we're talking about. And then on top of that, if somebody wants something bespoke, we will create it for them. There is a cost associated with that, but we only work on cost plus 10, so it's minimal. Yeah. And ideally, what we want to get to is a situation whereby we've already created all of the pre-established connectivity with the major vendors. So most times it would be plug and play with those vendors. And other times when we come across things that we've never done before, yeah, there'll be a job of work to get that established. Okay. But as they say, my friend, Rome was not built in a day.
It wasn't. It certainly wasn't. I love that. Okay, well, listen, you've given us so much insight already. We may even need a second session, the rate this is going, just to cover some of those points, because we could go off here, there, and everywhere. Thank you for answering that AI piece. It's really important that we had this discussion. I feel very, very strongly that the print industry has adopted this kind of intelligence a long time ago, and I think there's a danger of us getting caught in the fluff and all the marketing BS. It's so good to hear you backing up that theory in terms of movement.
Well, I'll give you something there. It's not a theory anymore, right? We've brought all of our ideas into a real world product. It's there today. It's no longer conceptual. We are working with the first customers have adopted this worldwide. We have European and US customers working with us right now. So we're in a scale phase, really. The product's ready. The customers will come, and of course, we've already got a bit of a queue. So, and we're only a small team at this stage. As we scale, of course, there will be options for us to go out into Far East and so on. And I think we have a rich plan for that. But yeah, the whole thing for us, realistically, at this stage, is about bringing a real world product to market.
Okay, that's fantastic, mate. I mean, honestly, like you say, Rome wasn't built in a day. It'd be good for you to check in with us in a year's time and show everyone on Print Island and the software matrix what you're doing. I'm going to jump into the product itself now. So I can see 3, maybe 4 core elements: CoCore, CoConnect, CoCollab, and something that I think is new, which we'll leave to the end if that's all right. I think we've got a bit of a hidden secret here. Maybe it's not a secret. Maybe it's just new to the market. But let's start off with CoCore. It's positioned as the heart of your job data. So we're going back into the data piece again. Do you want to give us a bit of a background into what Core is, how it fits, the value prop for the PSP?
Yeah, so fundamentally, I'm going to raise my arm again. The platform and all of the data in it is CoCore. CoCore is the way, it's the repository for all connectivity. Comes into CoCore. It's the platform that normalizes the data. It's the area where data is stored and retrieved by third-party applications. So CoCore is the platform itself. There we are.
Okay, so it is the heartbeat, it's the core, it's the structure, it's the... Okay, yep. Right. So you'd need CoCore, right? Then would you put CoConnect onto CoCore?
Yeah. CoCore and CoConnect go together. There is no point in having a data repository without data coming into it. So the CoConnect piece is literally the connectivity on top. Okay, so that's the way we connect with web-to-print systems or ERP systems or color management or impositioning on machines. All of that is part of the CoConnect piece.
Nice.
Simple.
Okay. So vendors update their technology consistently, right? What's your strategy for keeping those connections, those connectors on CoConnect up to date and reliable, I guess?
So we have a constant improvement program. We test those connections every day.
Yeah.
And of course, our tech guys have a view that, you know, API documentation for each one of the vendors that we work with is usually kept up to date on any latest revisions. We also have a high level of security built in. So each time we make changes, then, you know, there needs to be a full security review and so on and so on. So yeah, there's a full pattern, if you like, to how we continuously upgrade the platform. And as a part of that, each of those connections is tested regularly.
Nice. And of course, you touched on earlier how experienced you and the team are. I think it's half a century, you said, or something along those lines. Don't give your age away or anything. But I think the question I wanted to ask, basically said they're keeping up to date with all the connections and keeping them reliable. There must also be an element of market research and actually being aware of all the software that's you're not connected to, or new software systems that are coming onto the market that you think would add value. That surely is a big job in itself, right? Staying up to speed on all of that, especially in an age of data and digital where we are now. That it's not like back in the day when there'd be 4 or 5 MISs or same with web.
Yeah, that's true.
There's now tons, right? I saw the other day LinkedIn, somebody put an article about web-to-print systems, and there was like 30 or something on there. And then somebody put in the comments, "You've missed 10." And I'm like, wow, you know. So, what's your thoughts on how do you guys handle that?
We are customer-led. So if there's a customer need, we react.
Excellent.
And I think that's really how we will scale into the future. There's no point in creating a link to a web-to-print system that none of our customers use.
Yeah.
However, we are often contacted by various systems, be that web-to-print, workflow systems, whatever, as to whether we could work with them and their customer base as an enabler. So the answer is quite simple, really. Certainly, customer-led is the prime answer, and then partner-led would be the secondary answer to that, because of course partners have a need to be easily integrable. Integrable, is that a word?
Could be now. Just coin it.
Now. So yeah, the situation, whether you're a printer or a vendor into the print industry, is exactly the same. That break point, if you like, that bottleneck of integration is as much of a pain for the vendor as it is for the end user, because it's a blocker at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool, and I love the customer-led piece. You know, so you're not trying to do everything for everyone. You're focused on, again, going back to the original vision, what the PSP needs in their business for everything to work, whether it's legacy, future proofing, or whatever. That's a fantastic model. I really like that.
Yeah.
So we got CoConnect, we've got CoCollab next. So obviously, going right back, CoCore is the main piece, connects together. How does CoCollab function and work with CoConnect?
Right, now this is clever. So if one of our users has our platform and it has jobs, what, logically speaking, is to stop a like-minded printer also with a CoCoCo platform sharing a job? It's the same technology, it's the same language. So what we've done is we've created CoCollab. You can have a job pool, you can send a job into another network without having created an API connection to it. So this is for trade printers, for example, who wish to collect jobs from people. It's from those people themselves, from the individual small print management companies, for example, who need to send jobs to the trade printers. At the moment, that's an email or a phone call, and it's both very manual, right? Needs transposing, etc. And what we're proposing is that printers who have like CoCoCo get the CoCoCoLab piece on top, that then literally bridges between CoCoCo instances.
Wow.
Sweet. And it's what the trade print communities, be that, you know, suppliers to, or the printers themselves, or, you know, the trade printers themselves. We've strategized quite heavily about this, because a lot of trade printers globally and a lot of individual smaller printers will have an API. The problem is that they have this, what we call a dangly API. It dangles there, and they say, well, you know, we can now connect with you. The problem is the onus is on the individual user to connect with that API, and that's a job of work, that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they send an email. That's the way we are today. Our view is that actually, if trade printers want to use CoCoCo, and their users, their people who are sending the orders are using CoCoCo, and we can actually even sell the CoCollab piece just as an individual unit, so that orders can be easily transposed from one system into the next.
Right.
We think that is going to enable a lot more efficiency, both on a print management level, on a smaller print relationship with the bigger printer level, but also on a web to print to trade print level. There's a whole level of connectivity there that is missing in the market today, other than having to create your own point-to-point connectivity. And as we know, that's something that we don't like. So, so yeah, the CoCollab piece is genuinely attractive to people who want to share jobs. I suppose that's the headline.
Wow.
But the type of people that want to share jobs is incredible, right? It's everybody in the print industry wants to share some sort of job, whether that be internally or externally. It's all a matter of the same technology transferring the same data. And for us, that little bridge between the two enables what all of these dangly APIs never could.
Wow. I think this is crazy, Karl. You're basically putting the foundations down for an ecosystem.
An ecosystem of your choice. That's the beauty.
And that's the key, your choice. They keep coming back to it. It's what fits the business. It's customer centric. It's all the right things that we should say in business, but it's actually, you know, a mold that you can mold around, which is fantastic. The data sharing between partners must require a level of trust. How do you ensure like the security?
100%. Right. So everything is authorized. You cannot connect to somebody else's network. I mean, just absolutely no way. You have to be invited to share jobs with somebody.
Right.
So there is firstly the invite methodology. You cannot connect to anybody's data unless you have the authorization keys. And these are highly secure, right? We're talking very high levels of privacy. So that's the answer to that. It's just really, really good security practice. And it's by invite only. So, you know, to the outside world, that isn't a connection that they can connect to.
Okay. It's a great answer.
It's all about internal bridging. It's all very clever.
And probably the correct answer as well.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on then. I mean, you've covered the tangible benefits. I mean, actually probably tons more benefits than what you've just shared, but ultimately the benefits are dependent on the user's network or infrastructure, and you can tailor those accordingly, right?
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, a bit of a technical question for the nerds. How does CoCoLab intelligently route jobs to the right partner or machine? Now, I wouldn't ask this, but I was happy with what you were saying before. But this is actually quite a good question. How route jobs to the right partner or machine?
Have you ever heard of an if-then statement?
Yes. Take me back to university now. I'll go back to university.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, coding.
Basic. Right, okay. We have a concept called reactions.
Mm-hmm.
A reaction is a reaction to some change in the data set. Okay, so it could be that a reaction is, I've received a job from my web to print. What next? And the reaction, and you can set these in advance, allows you to automate what happens to that data based on a change has happened. What next? We call it reactions because you can have so many different reactions, even to one thing happening.
Yeah.
Right? If something is different about it. So you can get a digital job in. It can perform all of the different parameters to actually send it to a particular machine, other than the one parameter that says, oh my God, there's 10,000 of these. We need to send it that way instead of that way. And it's that basic routing that CoCoCo enables. So for your technical people, the reactions can, of course, be preset.
Yeah.
But we are also looking at how AI can react. Based on previous things that you've done, how AI can also react to certain things. So, yeah, we're on a journey.
So is that in the roadmap then? So at the moment you have your series of if statements or whatever it may be, your reactions, but the plan will be...
I'll go better than that, my friend. Yeah. Reactions is now live in the CoCore platform.
Okay.
So you can already route data however you wish to.
You heard it here first on the Software Matrix.
You heard it here first. However, it goes further, right? So as the platform develops, and AI gets cleverer and cleverer, and you're working on your own data sets, then actually some of those decisions can be based on the analysis that you do with the AI that will look for those gaps in efficiency, that will look for those better ways of doing things, or maybe the mistakes that were made, and actually fix those in advance next time in that reactions list. It's all very clever. Data is the backbone of absolutely everything here. And once data is open to you, the possibilities are endless.
Here you see, sorry to interject there. This is so cool because, again, I come back to my point. The industry, the print industry. Let's just wrap this up as a print industry, for example. Think very differently to how the tech industry working within AI has been collaborating, and it's so refreshing to hear that actually we're applying process, data flow, application, but these are all things we were doing anyway, but we're just using a bit more speed and function with it, and it's just so refreshing, Karl, to hear that at the core of your product. Staying with products, Karl, now there's a rumor that you and I touched on before we went on about a new addition to the CoCoCo stack, if I can call it a stack, OpenInfra. Okay. Yeah. Now I had a little look on your website. It is on the website. Tell me about OpenInfra and how it fits with the other three elements we just discussed.
Sure, no problem at all. So CoCoCo was created really for the printer, for the PSP, for the person who has the problem. But through all of our thinking, we have, we've stuck with the idea that if a printer has the problem, it's likely also to be a vendor problem. Because the vendor wants to get, machines sold. It wants to get software sold. It wants to get them integrated smoothly and easily and correctly. It wants easy support of those machines and that data ongoing. Right. So these are all very standard things that a printer would want, that a vendor would also want. And then came September, and we were made aware that the EU Data Act was now live. And in the background, we've been working on a solution which actually enabled the data that is required through the EU Data Act to be provided via OpenInfra, which, dare I lift my hand again, is an agnostic platform for vendors to connect all of their individual architecture globally, right, so that they can provide either individual customer data or a wider holistic view on data and how it flows into their machinery worldwide. Now, generally, that would be on an estate. So, the estate within a particular user. Because that's what the user, through the EU Data Act, now has the right to access. All machine data is now available, or should be, to the end user.
Wow.
Right. So we've created OpenInfra so that vendors can have the same benefit of CoCoCo, but just at a vendor level rather than at a...
Okay. Because I was just about to say, who is it designed for? So you're basically saying...
Yeah, for the vendor.
The vendor, okay. And
the vendor has the opportunity to link all of his estate in the same way as an individual user might.
Okay, so just to dumb it down a bit then, what kind of devices would this support?
Everything. Data is irrelevant to us. The machines are irrelevant. It's the data that matters. Sorry.
Okay.
The type of data that comes through is usually JMF type data. But it can include anything, really. We're not prescriptive. So machine data for a standard scenario would be, is my machine on or off?
Yeah.
But maybe your printer wants to know how many revolutions is it doing per minute. What's my predictive maintenance, professional looking at here when he's looking at that data?
Yeah.
It's going to be valuable in a number of different ways. Specifically, this backward flow of data that I mentioned earlier. OpenInfra does that for the vendor too, right? So it's a way for a vendor to have a complete holistic view on their entire estate, whether that be their entire estate or just within a particular vendor.
Yeah.
But the same benefits apply. Visibility, knowledge is power, right? And you can only get knowledge once you've got all your data lined up and you can interrogate it properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem vendors have often faced is this interaction through their software and machine systems with the end user. And actually, you could create that today by creating a rigid point-to-point connection between your vendor's API and you could push and pull that data.
Yeah.
Perfectly possible. But what we've done is we've done that for everybody so that you don't need to. The idea of OpenInfra is that the machine vendor has the legal requirement to give you as the PSP all of your data, and certainly throughout Europe that applies.
Wow. And that's I guess the use case there straight off is the fact that you have to have the European law. You're catering for that. You're providing a platform. I guess the question is, and I respectfully ask it, is anybody else doing this? Because I've not heard of this.
No, we really are pushing the boundaries. The reason that we're pushing the boundaries is because we believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
We believe the industry needs some radical change. Oftentimes I feel like I live in 1995 when I walk around a print shop. And I do think that that's not anybody's fault, right? That's just the technology has not been there up to now. But we believe that the technology around data, the processing power of the current AI suites, should we say, the bandwidth which is available to most businesses.
Yeah.
All of that comes together to say this is the right time to actually re-engage on that entire subject and to create solutions which are data-centric, but still give that, sense of, well, we're still in control. The end user is still in control here all the way through. It's his data. It's his process. He can set it up however he wants. And the key here is not to be prescriptive for us, not to be prescriptive to a client in terms of this is your software and this is how it works. What we're saying is, look, here's the data, here's how we connect it, and here's how we flow it through. The rest, over to you. And we wanted to bring that to the vendors too. So OpenInfra really was a chance for us to say, look, guys, we can do this at PSP level.
Yeah.
But here's something for you. Here's something for you. Now, whether that law will be enforced directly, nobody knows. Probably not, to be fair. But actually, there's still a requirement for that data. Lots of industry players want to be able to provide that data and can't, or can only on an individual basis. So we're looking at a much wider scenario where data actually just becomes the norm. It's my data, I access it, and that's easy.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I was reading some stats about the shift in the PSP, average PSP is changing now to a millennial, and I think it's 79% now B2B operations are now run by millennials, and then with that has come a requirement for data visibility on apps and things. And what we're saying, the scenario would be that you'd open your phone up and you'd see what your press is doing, even though you're not at the business, you could be doing something else, but you want this kind of app mentality, data at your fingertips. And I really love what you guys are doing there. Also, the other thing as well I wanted to say, you talk about changing the mindset of the industry and everything else. Your branding and your messaging is very clean. It's very bright. It's energetic. It's modern. So what I see as well when talking to you and learning about your products is that you're also trying to move the software print space on and embracing the next generation, that millennial PSP mindset or whatever, with that expectation. And it's great. It's so refreshing to see that. I mean, where did that come from, if you don't mind me asking? Because I just I love it.
I suppose it's people, really. We're just quite brave, really. I mean, we've bootstrapped this from zero.
Okay, impressive.
Which takes a particular sort of person anyway.
Yeah.
But also team, right? I just look at the team that we've got there, the people I've worked with before. We're not wholly new to one another. That combination of people, team, and the right time. There has to be a right time, and I think now is it. Bravery is something. We did the very first day we started. We did all sorts of word games and what have you to work out where we were going and what sort of keywords we were going to use in describing ourselves. And bravery was one of the ones that we all chose, because it is brave to go out with a wholly new concept. But I also take confidence from the fact that standardized data models are not new. They are just new to the print industry.
Yeah. Good
so,
point.
We're not reinventing the wheel necessarily. We're going with a platform which is very print industry specific. And the confidence comes from having spent the last year and a half working with printers to help us develop the solution. We've not done this in isolation, right? And the feedback we get when we show this to people, well, it's sensational. Right? We address many existing problems in their PSP organizations, and most notably, we address the gaps, the spreadsheets. And that's where it's true. Where you find a spreadsheet, there is a manual operation, even though
Death to the spreadsheet.
Semi-automated. No.
Death to the spreadsheet, right?
Death to the spreadsheet is our view.
I forgot to ask you about OpenInfra. I have one really, really important question which I forgot, so I should get sacked for that. When is it available? When can people see it? Now. Okay.
There are certain elements of we have in the system a number of different modules that are going to get released soon. Some of those are still under beta, but if you want connectivity, you want the core platform, you want that interoperability of machines, software, what have you, then the system is ready for you now.
Wow.
If you have a development team, we have a developer license available. You can try it, you can check it, you can create your own apps, your own visualization. You can create whatever you wish using that data, and we'll give you the mechanisms to do so. And that's today. Some of the AI tools that we've got, some of the things that we're still working on are still in beta. People can have access to them, but we will tell people when something's in beta. And what that does is it enables the developers within individual print organizations to help us understand what they need. We've been very much customer led, and the IT departments within the PSPs that we're working with have even suggested some features that we've now included.
Okay.
So whilst we have the overall picture, I think, pretty clear, we're open to change. There's nothing fixed in our world. And therefore, if somebody comes up with a great idea or a particular part of a process that we've missed, or wants to work with us collaboratively on something that we've never done before, 3D, for example, we've never done before. And there are people out there who want to work with us on that, who want to help us create the solution for them. And that, to me, gives us a great deal of confidence that we're doing the right things.
Okay. That's a great segue into another question I've got for you. And I'm going to try and keep these fairly high level, but I've got a feeling that we might get a little bit technical. What's been the most difficult technical challenge that you've faced, and how have you overcome it?
Technical challenge? Oh, I'd probably have to draw in one of my more technical colleagues for that.
Just headline level, where you've said.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously the biggest problem is disparate languages. How many different languages exist in the print industry, and what different versions of them are there, and so on. So the whole mapping exercise, working with so many disparate and diverse APIs, time.
And how do you go? Do you just work through it, slow? Is it just a case of you say time, therefore give us the time?
Yeah, customer-led. What does the customer need? That's where we'll concentrate.
Okay.
As time goes on, we'll probably receive more and more requests for more and more vendors to be added to the system.
Yeah.
And at that stage, that's when we look at it, of course. So yeah, customer-led, I think, is we're back down to doing what provides most value most quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So this we touched on this a little bit. We're talking about kind of the industry and how we've got to educate and support each other for change. But traditional PSPs, as you say, are resistant to change. How have you supported those clients through the transition? And just before you answer that question, I have to say that you have a very good approach to explaining something technical and making it seem everyday real life.
That's because I'm non-technical. I have to do that for
myself. Love it. But when I first met you and I was like, well, how does it work? And you said, well, get out your iPhone. And then you were showing me the iPhone. And I was like, oh, I get it. And it was, but is it a case of really spelling out, drawing it for the PSP to understand it? Or is it a case of saying, here's the numbers, we will, or both?
Our messaging has always been kept relatively simple, right? People, PSPs are not daft. And certainly anybody with an IT department has already experienced exactly what we're talking about. There may be one-man bands and two-man bands out there who are quite happy to, just work on a very manual basis. But certainly as businesses scale, the question of automation comes in, right?
Sure.
And the very next question is how? How? Then we have the sort of middle ranking, in that level, we've got organizations that have already automated and they've already got an MAI, so they've already got bits and bobs of automation around. And then it comes to, well, we need to replace something. And what's the first question they ask? How? Okay. Because it becomes like open heart surgery at that point, replacing a critical system.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then we get to the big corporates who, oh my goodness, wow, changing a single system can have so many different effects on so many different things. So we wanted to bring a solution to market which essentially addressed people's problems, but also addressed that secondary question of how. And the answer to the how question for us is simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't create point-to-point connectivity that you are going to have to long-term support and will probably break and will probably need redoing after a year. Our view is agnostic. And what that means is that how question becomes a matter of, well, if all of my data is already in a system, then to actually utilize a new piece of software alongside an existing piece of software, it's perfectly possible. You don't need to remove something just to get something new.
No.
So then that transition between old and new becomes a soft process rather than a open heart surgery. So our messaging is quite simple. Data, 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 connectivity, all of the usual things you hear about CoCoCo, platformization, Industry 4, etc. Right? So everybody gets that. But the very first question after that is how. And that's something that our messaging, I think, is getting right. It's simple. It's all about data.
Yeah.
You unify your data, you use a standardized data model, you get connectivity in place, and the world is your oyster.
Excellent. Karl, thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you on the Matrix today to share all of this. It's really refreshing. We're going to put everything in the description below, how to get in touch with you, how to get in touch with the company, how to follow you on LinkedIn. We'll talk about OpenInfra as well. We'll put a link to the landing page below. I think there's easily room for another conversation to follow up from here. What a treat for the Print Island today. So thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Hope it's been valuable.